The stock market took a nice bounce today. We also had some stocks move in an incredible way. And then I also want to talk about some volatility plays. And just so you know, the enemy of caterpillars is the dogger pillar. Last week, I said that the market could bounce. Today, we saw a little bit of that bounce. I want to look at the charts and see if we're going to get a little bit more coming up for us in this week, and also what exactly it is that I'm seeing in the charts that I want to make sure that we're all aware of. Just something to watch out for. We'll call it a warning sign, but definitely not a promise of what's to come. Just something on the horizon that I really think that we should be aware of. So in this channel, I always push value and service, and one of those ways that I'm providing that value is bringing the information that I have for you. And also down in the link in the description is a link for Moomoo where you can sign up to 16 free stocks. And then there's also my link for the Patreon that is also down in the description, where I put my Patreon exclusive content and also have my private Discord. Not to say the Discord members have been excited recently about a lot of the stuff I've been talking about and the opportunities they were able to take as a result of it. All right, enough of that for right now. We'll get back to it later. For right now, I want to pop up the chart. Here we're looking at the SPY, and let's zoom into a more recent time frame. There we go. We had the nearly oversold time right here on Friday, and I said in Friday's video, and I said earlier today that we could get that pop from there. And it's funny, no sooner did I post my video earlier in the day today. It was still the morning hours at that point in time, but the SPY actually went negative for a little bit of time. Actually, let's actually go intraday so we can see that. And let me go from post market, and we'll pop this open to full hours. There it is. So right here is about the time that I posted my video, and then we recovered nicely through that day. So man, I was nervous that it was going to go and prove me wrong, as it has been so historic to do so. Let's go over to the Qs real quick. And you can see the Qs even took a little bit of a dip during the day and then recovered very nicely for us. So this tracking the NASDAQ 100 recovered very well for us. And I'm pretty ecstatic about that. So the warning side that I want to talk about before I get to some of the stock updates for stocks I've been talking about. So let me zoom out a little bit. So this is still looking at the Qs right now. And the thing that I'm watching for right now is that we pretty much have this almost neckline forming up here. And I say neckline because if we recover and we come up to about 370 to 372-ish, that could actually be a bit of a head and shoulders turning up for us, which is actually a bearish sign, especially if we come back down after that and then we retest right around that 358-ish mark, 360 down to 358. And then we really want to be watching out that if we just peak up, make another shoulder, and then come back down and test the neckline, that's something that can be a bearish sign for us, and we could possibly break down further from there and possibly show us down about that 10%. So this isn't about raining on your parade. This is more about being prepared. So we already gave up from the peak of this thing about 8% or so, and we could possibly see us give up maybe down to 10% off of something like that, maybe even a little bit more. But really, what I think it would take to give up more, if we were going to give up more from that, I think that Jerome Powell would have to really spook the markets with what he has to say coming up on Friday the 25th. So that's something that I want to be aware of and watch out for. Otherwise, if it doesn't, the important thing we want to watch for if we're going to continue in a bullish direction is that we need to retake this 50-day that we have right here, which is currently going to act as resistance for us, which is right around $370 for the Qs. And it's nearly the same thing when we look at the SPY, not the same price, but the same shape, same thing I'm worried about. A little bit less upside on this one that we could see about another percent on there. And then breaking over that would be a good thing for us. Now, it doesn't necessarily have to be symmetric with the shoulders being exactly the same height, so I'm going to watch for that. But I did say that I expect about 2% to go for the S&P up from Friday, and we got about 0.7 of the way there according to what we see so far. I am watching just cautiously to see what can happen for us and how the markets react throughout the week. And hopefully we don't end up in that scenario where we get that head and shoulders look, because then for the S&P, we could also possibly drop down to, on this one, about 428, 430, somewhere around in there. Maybe we can give up enough to go down to 425. And we know how painful these past couple of weeks have been, and we don't necessarily want that. But as my Patreon members can tell you, that these drop-offs create some incredible opportunities. And there's been some people talking really ecstatically about the moves that they've seen and about the stuff that I've talked about, and they're happy that I was able to share that with them. And like I said, that link for the Patreon is down in the description if you want to join us. So let's move over to Apple first of all. So for Apple, found bottom just above 170. We closed just above 175. I think we have room up to 180 for Apple before we kind of tease a little bit from there, and the rest is going to take market bias to really tell us which direction it's going to go. Don't forget it for Apple that we do actually have middle of September. I have to check the dates on it. I think 12th or 13th is what it was speculated to be. We have the Apple event coming out where they talk about the iOS updates with the keynotes and the different hardware that they're going to put out, the different devices. So that's coming up in the middle of September. We could most definitely still see a run up in price up to then. And if we don't, we could possibly even see following that event, we could see the run up follow afterwards. So we're going to have to see if we get buy the rumor, sell the news, or if we're going to get sell the rumor, buy the news. And like I said, we're going to have to watch and see as we get closer to that time what's going to happen. I would say a week or two out from that. So September the 1st hits, or maybe that next, I think that's a Friday. So then the Monday after that, I think we're closed. So Tuesday after that, there we go. Tuesday after Labor Day might be really where we start to see that action come into it. Let's move on from there to NVIDIA. NVIDIA, I've been tracking a lot of progress on this one. And I did say, I couldn't even tell you when. We were still in the bullish channel that I have drawn on here. And I said we could possibly fall out the bottom. We could break through the top. And when we did not, when we turned around right in here, I was like, oh man, this thing could possibly break through the bottom. It did. And I said a while back in July that we could see down to possibly 400. And we got down to 403, close enough for me. And I said up to earnings, we could possibly see up to 500 leading up to earnings or just after earnings. And today that's starting to look a lot more likely. So $469, almost $470 is nearly what we closed at today. And we've had some incredible days. We did it on good volume. We are back in bullish territory, but we are not yet overbought. I still think that we have some room to run for NVIDIA. The market bias will either help us by pushing us up or it will hurt us by pulling us down. And then there's always that sideways, but I think NVIDIA has enough momentum on its own leading up to earnings that we could still see that 500 either just before or just after earnings. We could see us cross that $500 line, and I'm very excited about it. So that's NVIDIA. Still stand by what I said. We currently have a few different things. First of all, we have 450 to fall back on. So that's a good thing. It's quite a bit down from where we're at, but 450 to fall back down on. And then we also have about 440 to 437, right around wherever this 50 day is going to end up for us, that we also had to fall back on for support. And then in the meantime, we really don't have another resistance until we get up to about $480 per share, which is only 2-ish% away from where we're at right now. So just keep that in mind. Let's move over to Tesla. I didn't get to the volatility plays yet, although people who played options on these definitely got to take advantage of those. There's the channel that we were looking at that I've been talking about on this channel on the channel. And there's where we came down. We touched that bullish channel. We bounced off it nicely to 230. Next resistance we have is 240. I think that's very weak resistance for us. And I think 250 is actually where we find that stronger resistance. And we'll see what the market does and what Tesla does up to that point in time. If we easily cross 240, I think 250 is going to give us a bit of a fight in the near term. And like I said, I'm a long-term investor in Tesla. I have my Tesla stock price prediction and my Tesla earnings forecast for Q2, which I'll be updating for Q3 as we draw closer to it. That's available over at the Patreon. And you can certainly look at it and see what prices I have and what stock price I have leading in revenues, you name it, earnings. All available over at the Patreon. That link's down in the description. So that's my short-term take on Tesla here. We could also possibly drop back down to about 215 if we stay in this channel. If not, then we drop down 200 days where we start looking for that support right around $200. All right, so volatility. Let me bring up mRNA. This is one I said back when we were around $95, $96 per share. I said this thing could go $10 either way on us, and then it did, and then it gave us a little bit more, and it did so on good volume. We actually have room up until about where its 50-day is at about 117, which was long-term historic support for us. Broke down through it. Now it's probably going to be a significant resistance for us going forward. So we're going to have to watch and see what that, and I can tell you as far as the RSI goes, as far as the momentum indicator goes, we entered bullish territory, and so it is possible that we gain just a little bit more in here. It might slow down from here on out. All right, the one that I talked about and took a position on today, I want to take a quick break to tell you about those 16 free shares from Moomoo using my link down in the description. All you got to do is sign up, deposit your cash, and when you do, if it's $100 or more, you get 5 free stocks, $50 cash reward at every tier. If it's $1,000 or more, you get 15 free stocks. For the $5,000 tier, you get a free share of Tesla or Google on top of it, and it fits in with the theme of providing value and service through this channel. And if you want access to my exclusive content and my Discord, where you can go and talk to me throughout the trading day, and also my other community members that I have over there as well. You can use the link for the Patreon that's down in the description. My NVIDIA stock price prediction is over there and waiting for you right now. I will update my Tesla stock price prediction. I have my watch list of stocks that I also add to continuously over there available as well. Also my other research, such as the CPI projections that I have, that also goes in over there. Really anything that I can think of, including, and something I'm very excited about, let me bring this down for a moment, including Patreon exclusive options videos where I talk about the very basics of options, and I plan to make that more detailed over time for my Patreon members. So if you want to check that out, that link is available down in the description. Enphase, I think, is going to move in a big way. What I did on this one was I actually took a long strangle where same expiration date, so September the 15th for those of you who like to know when I took it, and I posted that and shared it over in my Discord over at the Patreon. What I did was I bought a 125 put, I did a 135 call, and like I said, that's for September the 15th, and I think that this could possibly move for us. Right now it's 130. I think in the near term it can move us about $14 in either direction. So that's over 10% when we talk about that. And it costs about $800 to enter that strangle in the first place. So should we move $14, it really could move us up into $900 range. And then on top of that, we could possibly get some time value out of it, plus, the opposite direction being worth just a little bit of something on top of that. So it won't be a huge win if I knew the direction on this. Like if I had conviction that it was going to be bullish, then that's something I could actually make quite a bit. Like I would make multiples on my money if it moves in the way that I expect it to. Instead, I make just, a smaller percentage, but over a few days, talking about 10 and 12% when the S&P over the year returns 9% on average over its history. That's, making what the S&P would give to you in that short time, to me, makes a lot of sense. Now, there's the risk that this thing doesn't move at all and time just bleeds away my long strangle value. And well, then I either have to sell it at some point in time, or I hold on to it until it's worthless, which sounds terrible because that's 100% loss on my money. Don't want to do that. Really, I'm looking at this week as that window where we get some sort of movement coming out of Enphase. So I would like to say, out of all the beating that it's taken recently, that we get a little bit of a bounce on that, being that we are in the oversold territory. I'm inclined to go bullish on something like this, but I did still take that lower risk strangle on this one, where, like I said, we could either break down even further to more historic support right around $116, or we could pop up to about $144 on this one. So those are the two things that I'm looking at for that. So that's the volatility play that I wanted to talk about with you. So for the markets, I think that right now we have a little bit further upward climb to go, and then we're going to have to replan from there. Friday, I'm telling you, Friday is why I won't project past that day, because I don't know how the market's going to react. So if we get a run up to Friday for Jerome Powell speaking, I think we get a sell-off. If it's not going to happen Thursday, then it happens Friday. If the market should happen to sell off prior to that, then I think it's possible that, if all that worry gets priced in ahead of time that he's going to tell us something terrible, then on Friday it's possible that we get a pop on a green day on that, assuming that whatever he tells us isn't as bad as we were dreaming of. So that's what I have to say for that part of it. NVIDIA still's got a shot at 500. We'll see. It is possible it settles closer to 450 prior to those earnings, but I do think either just before or just after we're going to see that 500 line hit for us for NVIDIA. I think it's going to be very positive for earnings, and I also think that we're going to get very positive guidance. And that NVIDIA stock price prediction, like I said, available at the Patreon. Go ahead and check it out. Tesla, got a few dollars probably left in the tank, in the batteries, a little bit of juice left in the batteries yet. There we go. That we could possibly cross at 240. I think, like I said, further resistance to be found at 250. And then Moderna, probably going to sputter out sooner than later on us, at least in the near term. And then Enphase, I think, is going to be the next big mover that we have, whether it's up or down. Who's to say? But I did take a strangle position, and I did share it with you. Like I said, along the lines of value or service, get those free stocks from Moomoo. That link is down in the description. I am Dr. Stock, Doctor of Education. Remember, my friends, that learning is earning, and I'll see you in the next video.